The views and opinions expressed on Trudging Together are solely those of the host, co-host, and our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization, fellowship, or other entity, and definitely not your boss, your neighbor, or that one guy in your home group. The content of this program is not intended to replace medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're looking for that, please seek guidance from qualified professionals who spent way too many years in school. What you'll hear here is based on lived experience, recovery journeys, and the occasional bad coffee-fueled joke. Trudging Together is not affiliated with any 12-step fellowship. We are simply people sharing our stories and walking this path together, one day at a time. Thank you for joining us, and remember, recovery is serious business, but that doesn't mean we can't laugh along the way.
It's Wednesday. I don't have anything to go with it. Happy Wednesday. I had to make a tourniquet out of a tie. This isn't a tourniquet. What am I talking about? Sling. Because I'm supposed to have my finger above my heart for the first 72 hours. So, and I keep not doing it because I'm a defiant alcoholic who doesn't listen. I'll have to take it out of this thing here and there to kind of get things going. Morning, Amber. She said, "Sup, bird, word, stuff." Yeah, I'm singing it in my head. I guarantee it. So you'll have to forgive my hair. I can't do my hair with one hand. It's as good as it's going to get. So I might be wearing a hat for the next couple weeks. We'll see. Or I just shave it all off again. Because nobody's even noticed I grew it out. Gosh. It's hard to tell when I have really curly hair. So it's about 2 inches now. My hair goes pretty quick. It's, out of everything, at least I'm not losing my hair. So there's that. I'm going to let you know right now, I'm doing what we call fake it till you make it. Yeah, so I'm doing my best to be in a good mood. There's no reason for me not to be in a good mood. I had really, really bad nightmares last night. I have nightmares pretty much every night, but sometimes they get very violent. And I wake up in the morning, I still feel that way. And I don't like it. So I think it was because yesterday when I went and did my surgery, they put me under, and I got I like tried to get out of the gurney. I was trying to box people. I was starting commotion, right? And I think that kind of set it off or something. Good morning, Angel. Good morning, Neil. It's good to see you. Angel says, "Hi, bro." Neil says, "You also do a great British rock and roll accent. Thank you. I appreciate that." Works out well because I am British. So, about this one. Hold on. See if you guys can recognize. Well, the name's in it. So, all talk so loud, even the animals go, "Who the fuck are you?" Welcome to the rich and famous. Yeah, I'm forgetting his name. That's why I haven't said it. Let me remember his name. What's his name, honey? She can't hear me. She's got her ears in. All right. So I'm going to have to take my hand out of this. I got to double up on when I do it takes both my hands to run the mouse. So, Robin Leach. That's who it is. I bet somebody put it in too. Mick Jagger, you were close. Oh, you like my Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want. Oh, that's the one you were going for, right? All right. All right. Time for Dion's Daily Funnies, where he steals jokes off the internet because nothing is original anymore. Let's get started. Why do melons have weddings? Because they can't elope. You're like, Dion, you swear and do all this stuff all the time. Why do you tell clean jokes? Because I swear and stuff all the time. I gotta offset it. I actually have uh, a note here. It says, "Stop swearing." I'm actually working on it. So, all right. But when I get to talking, it's hard to. Why did the baby strawberry cry? His parents were in a jam. Why did the teddy bear say no to dessert? Because it was stuffed. It was stuffed bear. Beggs and Aiken walk into a bar. The bartender said, "Sorry, we don't serve breakfast." Lord knows I have felt like a overdone piece of sausage when I've gotten up some mornings. Well, we're gonna do one more joke because there's so many advertisings here. That's just after dinner. My wife asked if I could clear the table. I needed a running start, but I made it. It's given the question, then you have to go through a advertisement to get to the punchline. One more. How do you make a lemon drop? Just let it fall. Now we know how to make lemon drops. Vodka. Do you need anything else? I remember I was a bartender at one point, right? I was either too good of a bartender or not a very good one because everybody was drunk when I was right. But there was this new drink that came out, and it was like a raspberry, you know, raspberry, right? It was a drink. It was more like a whatever you call them, more closer to White Claw, whatever those are, right? And what I did is I made a drop shot out of it. So I'd pour some of that, and that's not much. But then what I did is I got strawberry vodka, and there was one other I mixed into it, right? And this drink was called Vibe. And what you do is you dropped it into it. You do as a drop shot, and I called it the Rocky Mountain Vibrator. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I was fired soon after. What was kind of funny is my band was also playing in the basement. We used to practice in the basement there, so that was kind of cool. I remember the lights went out once. We were in the basement. Anyway, right? So today we're talking about fear, right? It did kind of come out of today's daily reflection, but I'm expanding. I'm going to need my hand here for just a minute. All right. Welcome to Daily Trudge. My name is Dion, aka the Podfather. Podfather. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna make it happen. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. Yesterday, some of you might have seen I put something out. It's called Peer-Led Pathways. All right. So I finally figured out something that I want to do, I'm capable of doing, which matches my time and stuff. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is helping people helping people get off the streets and find good treatment, man. I have a lot of great freaking resources, and it's time to start using them. So let's get started here. Today, we're talking about fear in the big book. I'm going to need my hand for most of this. All right. And all the different places where fear is in the big book, right? Now, how many of us thought alcohol was the problem? Of course, when we first got in here, that's probably what we thought. I thought it was the problem at one point too, and then I got in here and found out that alcohol wasn't the problem. It was the solution I was trying to use for my problems, right? Isn't it funny? Now my sling just looks like makes me look a little gay. I don't care. Right. So I did, so the big book teaches us that fear, not alcohol, was running the show long before we ever got sober. I lived in a lot of fear, right? Now, fear is a base emotion, okay? Kind of like colors, right? We have our primary colors, we have our secondary colors. Fear is, it's a landing spot to your problem, right? So, because why do I get angry? Usually because I'm not getting what I want. Usually that's it, right? Or that I'm going to lose something that I think I deserve, that I own, right? And 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 what was this? Control. I wanted to have control. And why was I doing that? Because my alcoholism was out of control. And if I could control you, that means that I was in control because I clearly couldn't control myself, right? Would you want somebody that is full of fear to, you know, I couldn't think of anything decent. So scratch that. So 67, 68 talks about some key lines in here. First, it talks about the fact that fear is an evil and corroding thread. It goes on to say, because I know this is part of the big book, that it should be classed with stealing. It seems to cause more trouble than anything else. You know, it's hard to admit that we were living in fear. I'm not sure how it is with women, but men, we're not supposed to have fear. It's it's a bad thing, right? You're supposed to take care of it yourself. You're supposed to, yeah. And then comes another fear, the fear that you might think I'm fearful. Just full of, I'm sure you guys list off a bunch of fears. What were some of your fears when you first came in? You know, there were fears. My big thing was I didn't want to lose who I was. Yeah, and not even lose who I was. I didn't want to be a non-entity. I was already a non-entity in my family, and I didn't want to be that again. Um, I I I want to be known for something when I leave this world, and I don't want it to be destruction. Yeah. There's a part of me that just got tired of being angry. I even said that this morning to my wife. I'm like, I'm gonna change this attitude because I don't want to be angry. Right? I still kind of feel it, you know, but I've had a lot of practice at saying I knew what the problem was, right? It wasn't anybody. It's just, it's kind of scary to think that my dreams can be like that. It's just scary. Anyway, so then it goes on to say the fabric of our lives was shot through with it. That means everything that I was doing usually had, you know, my motivation was fear. That was my motivation. And it's not a good place to live because I take fear and and it tends to move into survival mode. And that's when I get dangerous. Yeah, well, did you ever see the Seinfeld where George Costanza was at a party, a kid's party, and there was a fire in the kitchen or something like that, right? Right. And what does George do? Well, he's like pushing kids out of his way, climbing over people to get to the door and get out of there. Of course, he's the adult, right? This is Dion. That's what I used to do as an adult. I would clamber over you to get to where I needed because the liquor's on the higher shelf. So I would stand on your shoulders or whatever, right? We can look at this a lot of different ways. Okay. Do I still have fear in my life? Absolutely I do. But it is not an evil corroding thread that determines my attitude, my actions, and that sort of stuff, right? Um, sure, I have a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear going yesterday and getting new surgery. It wasn't the surgery, it was itself. It's the process, the time, the, things like that. Um, Amber says, my stepdad, when he sees a bee, push me out of the fucking way. He's a big dude. Yeah, you're not huge, Amber, so he probably went flying, right? Fear touches every aspect of our lives. So this wasn't occasional fear, it was constant fear every day, all day long. All right. My hand itches. It itches right there. Can I get to it? Oh, I can. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Isn't it funny that nothing itches? I don't know about you, but every time I got handcuffed, I'd have an itch on my face. Every time. Right? So fear, it ran my decisions, my reactions, and my relationships. Yeah. You know what my fear was? My fear was that you were going to abandon me like everybody else did. Now, not everybody did abandon me. Just, a lot of people did. So what would I do? Well, I'd make it come true. Yep. I would make it come true, especially if we were getting really close, because that means it would hurt more. Yeah. The weird thing is, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on. I didn't do it to intentionally hurt them. Kind of, which makes it suck even more. So fear wasn't. It's not like it was a side issue. Right? This wasn't something that I kind of went through. And fear was the driving emotion for almost all my drinking, for all of my behavior. Yeah, it was the driving emotion. Wasn't anger. No, anger I utilized to get people to do what I wanted to do. Because I'm certainly not. See, if when I let fear turn into anger, then I don't have a fear. But now that I know that when somebody is angry, it is usually because of fear. Now I know it. Now I can see it, not just in others, but in myself. All right. Fear of people, fear of the future, fear of not sleeping, fear of running out of alcohol. All right. I mean, in the beginning, I drank for fun, but after a while, I drank for relief because alcohol took away the fear. Yeah. It would temporarily remove my fear. This reminds me of a part in Bill's story where the market crashed. Right here. The remorse and horror. Nope, that's not it. Anyway, the market goes to heck, right, and crashes. And he's like, everybody's jumping from here, from finance, and people were literally jumping off buildings. They were. Okay. Uh, but in the big book, what it does, he describes that he's like, well, those people have no courage. And what did he do? He drank to get the courage. Well, you know what? Tomorrow's going to be another day. Carpe diem. Yeah. But he utilized alcohol to get that courage, right? Because what's the opposite of fear? Well, it's courage. And what do we call this? We call it liquid courage. You remember the liquid courage stages? Well, what happened after a little while is that kind of became a part of you, and you no longer needed the liquid courage to be a jerk. Okay. Now, I don't need alcohol in me to act like an asshat. And that's not a brag. I used to think that was a brag, but it's not. See, we alcoholics just weird, right? And I do say we because I know other alcoholics that have gone through that. This is a we program, right? So alcohol worked because it temporarily removed the fear, right? Fear, well, man, it gave me a lot of seconds. Segments. segments, right? So fear drives self-will. Self-reliance failed us, right? Because what was going on? I was trying to control outcomes. I was trying to control people, trying to control life. Control is fear trying to protect itself so that people don't know who we really are. Because when I'm in the bottle, man, well, you know, right? That's why I don't have to talk about my past a lot, because our past is a lot alike. A lot alike. We tried the same things. We tried this, you know. So step 4, right? We even have a whole list, a fear list. Okay. But some examples, fear is losing security, relationship, status, comfort, money. So behind every resentment, at least for Dion, I'm going to say I on this one, was fear. Every resentment starts with fear. Every single one of them. Now I have my answer. Now I have my answer to a lot of things. Well, Dion, why are you angry? Because I'm not getting what I want when I want it. Right? Answers to things. You know. Do I always need the answer? Do I always need to know why? We don't necessarily, but sometimes we think that without it, that fear is, and there's a lot of fear. Fear of not being able to find your higher power. I mean, we could sit here all day and name off fears, different types of fears. If we talked really slow, we could do it all day. So what do? We do a fear inventory. We write down our fears. We ask why we have them. Why do I have this fear? Right? And some of these fears weren't just these things. Like, for a long time, I had a big fear of dogs. Okay, I was bitten 3 times as a kid, so that's why that fear was there. I don't have as big of a fear about dogs. Um, it's the not in control part, right? The other day, I'm sitting there. I was out back having a cigarette. I was just waking up, and a squirrel comes running up. He didn't see me. I didn't see him. We scared each other. He jumped. I jumped, and he ran away. It was kind of funny. And I'm like, that was all reactive. What was he going to do? Come up and sniff me, maybe? He was just out back having fun with his squirrel friends. Still kind of a baby. So we ask why we have them. We see where self-reliance failed. So what do? We ask God to remove the fear. Right? So there's the process, right? Write it. Why do we fear it? Let it go and move forward. So then there's the fear prayer, and we kind of said there isn't really a prayer in there as much as there is, God save me from being angry. God, please remove my fear. I recognize that this is going on, so could you please help me with this? Right? Bo Nix has the same fear about dog. Good for Bo Nix. Yet somebody he clearly before the game there was an ankle biter. I hope you guys find that joke funny. It was an ankle biter. How'd you hurt your ankle? An ankle biter. All right, anyway. So, for a long time, I thought I had to control my fear. Okay? Do we face our fears? Sure, we do. But it's not a matter of controlling, it's a matter of getting through it, right? Because fear is getting rid of fear requires surrender, not control. Okay, so fear is removed through surrender, not control. All right, we need to get to our answer. What's the answer here? Well, we'll start to get to it. It did not give me much Ah, all right. So what does fear look like in sobriety? Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of change, fear of success, fear of the future, right? So sobriety doesn't remove fear, but what it does is it gives us the tools to face it. According to the big book. All right. And that's what it does. And I'm going to say it's not necessarily sobriety that removes the fear, it's the recovery. Okay. Not even Chat GPT understands. There's a huge difference between sobriety and recovery, a big difference. One means you don't drink. The other means you're working at becoming a better person, right? Those are the short versions of it, right? So, right. So now what we're going to do is there's a common solution, right? Fear goes to trust, control, surrender, isolation, connection. Those are the things that we use, right? So, you know, um, what we do is we replace self-reliance with reliance on our higher power. Right? And here's that fear prayer that we were talking about. It's on page 68. We ask him to remove our fear and direct our attention to what he would have us be. These nice little short lines that remind us why we are doing what it is that we are doing. All right. Why is it important that we work on these things, that we understand these things? Because my job is to be maximum service to God and the world around me right now. All right. So, and what it doesn't do, it's not going to remove you from the situation. It's not going to remove the problem. Okay. Because that's not the problem. The fear is the problem. So, what do? Well, we direct our attention to what we should be at the moment. Okay. And here's the best answer for getting out of fear. Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. Call someone, talk to them about it, face it. That's a great way to do it. We call this facing the snakes, man. Face them. Okay. Now, when you do that, what it's going to do is you will have called somebody, you've talked about it, you admitted it, and that is the portion where you are surrendering because you're letting somebody else know. You're in a sense telling on yourself, right? Well, in turn, that gives you a little bit of courage. But there's another step to this. It ain't over yet. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to who we can help. Right. I had a friend a few weeks ago. She lost her job, not of her own accord. And what did she do? Well, she mustered her courage, did what she needed to do, and she ended up with a job that was 10 times better for her in the first place. Okay. Now, okay, and they're recognizing the fact that they see that the fear was more of a boogeyman because change was coming. Pretty cool. All right. And now they are excited about working again. When they were talking about their old job, I heard her say one thing. I don't even like that job. I'm like, all right. But nobody likes being fired for something you, especially alcoholics. I hate being blamed for something I didn't do because I did a lot of stuff and I had to admit it. So I don't, yeah, it drives me nuts when somebody blames me for something I didn't do for once. But I'm also the little boy that cried wolf. So it's going to be a little while. All right. It'll be a little while before people can trust me on that again. So fear makes us focus on ourselves, our outcomes, and what might happen. Recovery shifts us to who we can help. How can we be useful? What can we do today? Okay. And as your usefulness grows, your fear will diminish. It'll become less. right? Now, what's on the other side of that? Freedom, serenity, and joy is on the other side. All right. So, the big book solution is not bravery. No, it's faith. Because you got to have faith to faith to faith. You got to have faith to faith to faith. Right? Not another British singer. All right. Peter says, what if everything goes wrong? What happens? And Faith said, whatever happens, I won't face it alone. Okay? So faith doesn't promise safety. It promises we don't face life alone. But I have also found that God has kept me pretty safe. When I'm unsafe, it is usually because Dion has done something to put himself in that position. It's usually what's happened. All right. So we're not going to sit around and wait for fear to disappear. Instead, we're going to pray, we're going to trust, then we're going to move forward. Courage in AA equals action with the fear that is present. And you're stay present with it. All right. So when we help others, we stop obsessing about ourselves and fear loses its power. So in ending, the big book does not teach us how to eliminate fear. It teaches us how to stop letting fear run the show. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice to be free of the bondage of self? So nice. So nice. All right. Before I go, thank you all for being good friends. You all know who you are. Thank you to my followers who have decided to become better people and go out there and make other people's lives better. Thank you for that. We're doing really good work here. We are, you know, and we don't realize how many people we actually help when we are being helpful. But when I live in the fear, I don't seem to be as useful. So face those snakes. Don't do it alone. No, don't do it alone. There's somebody in your life willing to walk through that fear with you hand in hand. Yes. And we do that for each other. Maybe you need to go do something and you need support. Maybe, there's a lot of situations out there. Maybe even just going to the grocery store is hard for you, and having somebody else along would just make it easier. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for being here, and thanks for not fearing or listening to me. That was a bad ending joke. All right. Thank you. Peace out. I love you. You know I do. Peace out.